Have you ever been wronged, betrayed, manipulated, or left feeling powerless by someone you trusted? What if the key to making them regret it wasn't about revenge at all, but about something far more transformative? Carl Jung, the legendary psychologist, uncovered a profound truth. The people who hurt you are often trapped in their own darkness, while your greatest power lies in how you respond. And when you do this one thing, they won't just regret hurting you. They'll regret ever underestimating you. We've all faced pain at the hands of others, whether it's a toxic relationship, a betrayal, or someone who tried to break you down. But here's the paradox. The more you focus on them, the more power you lose. Carl Jung taught that true strength comes from turning inward, confronting your shadows, and emerging unshakable. This isn't about playing their game. It's about transcending it entirely. In this video, we'll explore Jung's wisdom on shadow work, individuation, and silent mastery, the exact mindset shifts that will make anyone who hurt you question their choices. Because when you stop reacting and start evolving, something unexpected happens. They no longer see a victim, they see someone they can no longer touch. And that's when the regret sets in. Carl Jung's concept of projection reveals a startling truth. When someone attacks, belittles, or betrays you, it's often not really about you. It's about the parts of themselves they refuse to face. Projection is a psychological defense mechanism where people disown their own flaws, fears, and insecurities, then subconsciously assign them to others. If they call you selfish, it might be because they can't admit their own hidden greed. If they accuse you of being too emotional, it could be their own repressed feelings spilling out. The harshest critics are usually confessing their own sins, just pointing the finger at you instead. This is where Jung's idea of the shadow self comes in. The shadow is the dark, unconscious side of our personality, the instincts, desires, and traits we deny or suppress. But what we reject in ourselves, we often attack in others. A person who secretly feels powerless may try to dominate you. Someone drowning in shame might humiliate you to feel superior. Toxic people don't just hurt you randomly, they target the very qualities they've buried within themselves. Their cruelty is a distorted mirror of their own inner war. And this leads to the painful but liberating truth. Hurt people hurt people. Those who inflict deep wounds are often carrying even deeper ones. This doesn't excuse their behavior, but it explains it. When someone lashes out, betrays trust, or tries to diminish you, it's rarely about your worth. It's about their inability to face their own brokenness. Understanding this shifts everything. You stop asking, "Why me?" and start seeing their actions for what they really are, the desperate thrashing of someone who hasn't yet faced their own shadow. The question then becomes, not, "How do I make them pay?" but, "How do I break this cycle?" Because the moment you stop absorbing their projections and start reclaiming your power, something profound happens. You stop being a player in their drama, and they're left staring at the emptiness of their own game. When someone wounds us, our first instincts are often primal: anger, revenge fantasies, or sinking into self-pity. These reactions feel justified in the moment, even righteous. But here's the hard truth. Each one secretly chains you to the very person you want to escape. Anger, though natural, keeps you mentally replaying their offense, handing them rent-free space in your mind. Revenge, even if successful, often leaves you hollow, because in making them suffer, you've matched their cruelty. And self-pity, while understandable, morphs into a prison where you're both the inmate and the guard. These reactions don't heal you. They extend the pain long after the original wound. Jung famously warned, "What you resist persists." When you fixate on defeating someone else's darkness, you inadvertently feed it, and worse, you risk letting it shape you. The energy you pour into hating them, outsmarting them, or begging for their remorse is energy stolen from your own growth. Resistance gives the hurt power. It keeps you orbiting their gravity when you could be light years ahead. But the most insidious trap? Becoming the mirror of your oppressor. When you meet malice with malice, deceit with deceit, you don't prove them wrong, you prove them right. You adopt the very traits you despised in them, and in doing so, surrender your integrity. The person who hurt you may have acted from their shadow, but if you respond from yours, you've let them drag you into the same psychological quicksand. The high road isn't about nobility, it's about refusing to let their dysfunction rewrite your character. The alternative isn't passivity, it's something far more potent. It's recognizing that the real battleground isn't between you and them, but between who you were before the hurt and who you'll choose to become after. Because the ultimate loss isn't their respect or apology, it's your own potential left untapped while you stare backward at what they took. The way out isn't through them at all. It's through the one thing they can never touch, your decision to rise, not react. The moment you realize that your power doesn't lie in changing them, but in transforming how their actions affect you, everything shifts. Jung's framework offers a path that doesn't just neutralize their harm, but alchemizes it into strength. Here's how. Step 1. Shadow work, confronting your own pain instead of blaming them. The most radical act of self-liberation begins when you stop asking, "Why did they do this to me?" and start asking, "Why does this hurt me so deeply?" Shadow work isn't about excusing their behavior. It's about excavating the raw nerves they triggered. Where did this wound first form? Is their betrayal reopening an old abandonment? Does their ridicule echo someone from your past? The pain they caused is real, but its intensity often comes from older, unhealed layers. When you face these shadows, not with shame, but with curiosity, you reclaim the fragments they exploited. Their power over you dims because you're no longer fighting them out there. You're healing what they mirrored within. Step 2. Individuation, becoming unshakably yourself, their greatest fear. Jung's concept of individuation is the process of integrating all parts of yourself, light and dark, into a whole no one can manipulate. Toxic people thrive when you're fragmented, when you doubt your worth, mask your truth, or shrink to appease. But when you solidify into your authentic self, flaws, strengths, and unapologetic purpose, their tactics fail. They can't gaslight you if you trust your mind. They can't guilt-trip you if you honor your boundaries. Individuation is the ultimate rebellion because it makes you immune to their games. And that terrifies them because their control relied on your forgetting who you were. Step 3. Silent mastery, using their negativity as fuel for growth. Silence isn't weakness, it's strategy. Every dig they took, every doubt they planted, becomes energy to redirect. Channel the anger into discipline. Transform the betrayal into discernment. Let their absence create space for better people. This is the alchemy Jung described, turning leaden pain into golden wisdom. Marcus Aurelius put it perfectly, the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. When you refuse to mimic their pettiness, you expose the poverty of their character. When you flourish despite them, you prove their irrelevance. This isn't forgiveness for their sake, it's freedom for yours. Because the final stage of outgrowing them isn't their regret, it's your indifference. The day you realize you no longer need them to hurt, apologize, or even notice your growth, that's the day you've won. There comes a pivotal moment in every transformation, when the pain they inflicted stops being a wound and becomes a revelation. The moment you transcend their cruelty, you expose its true nature, not as proof of your weakness, but as evidence of theirs. Toxic people, especially narcissists, operate on a fundamental delusion that their power comes from controlling how others feel. But when you refuse to play your assigned role, when their insults no longer land, their absence no longer devastates, and their opinions no longer matter, you pull back the curtain. Suddenly, their entire facade cracks. Because their dominance was never real, it depended entirely on your belief in it. Narcissists and emotional predators feed on engagement, whether it's your tears, your rage, or your desperate attempts to make them understand. Silence, to them, is kryptonite. Because your indifference forces them to confront the void they've been running from. Your growth becomes a mirror reflecting what they lack, the courage to face themselves. While they remain stuck in cycles of manipulation, You've moved beyond needing anything from them, and that realization haunts them. Not because they miss you, but because your evolution proves their tactics have an expiration date. History and psychology are filled with stories of those who turned betrayal into transcendence. Consider Viktor Frankl, who survived the Holocaust and developed logotherapy, transforming unimaginable suffering into a framework for meaning. Or Tina Turner, who fled an abusive marriage with nothing but her name, then rebuilt herself into an icon. These aren't just tales of resilience, they're proof that the highest form of justice isn't downfall, it's outshining. When someone tries to bury you, they don't realize they're handing you the shovel to dig yourself out and build higher ground. Their regret won't always look like an apology, often it won't come at all. It'll look like the flicker of doubt when they see you thriving without them. It'll sound like the strained silence when your name comes up and they have nothing left to criticize. Most importantly, it'll feel like your own quiet certainty, the knowledge that their attempt to break you became the very thing that forged you. That's the paradox. By trying to diminish you, they accidentally handed you the blueprint for your own invincibility. And that's something they'll never undo. Carl Jung's most profound insight may be this: the soul's work isn't to avoid darkness, but to transmute it. He likened this process to alchemy, where base metals are transformed into gold. Your pain, your betrayals, your deepest wounds? These are not obstacles to your growth, they are the raw materials of it. Every slight, every injustice, every moment they underestimated you contains a hidden potential, not to break you, but to remake you. The question is never whether you will face suffering, it's whether you will let it harden you or alchemize it into something greater. There's a crucial distinction between dwelling in pain and working through it. As Jung observed, you don't heal by staying in the dark, you heal by bringing light into it. This means facing your hurt with radical honesty, not to wallow, but to understand. What did this experience reveal about your boundaries? Your discernment? Your capacity to endure? The people who hurt you were never the authors of your story, they were merely the fire that forced you to rise from your own ashes. Their actions, however cruel, became the friction that polished you into someone sharper, wiser, and more unshakable. This is the ultimate reframe. They were never your enemy, they were your unwitting teachers. Every betrayal taught you to trust yourself more deeply. Every rejection steered you toward better alliances. Every doubt they planted forced you to root your confidence in something unassailable. The moment you stop seeing them as villains and start recognizing them as catalysts, you reclaim all the power they tried to drain. Their role in your life shifts from oppressor to ironic ally, the ones who pushed you toward the version of yourself they never thought you'd become. This isn't about gratitude for their cruelty, it's about reverence for your own resilience. The light you bring to the darkness isn't forgiveness, it's sovereignty. And that's the final, unanswerable triumph. When you realize the very thing they meant for harm became the foundation of your unbreakable strength.